Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Wanted to provide a little bit of extra guidance for your week 2 assignment this week. You'll be continuing your work with that project program evaluation template. You shouldn't be re-downloading the template though. You want to pick up where you left off last week. And you'll be completing the component descriptions section, which I'll talk about in just a moment. I did want to call your attention to some of the details down here about making sure that your description illustrates your expert abilities by applying systems thinking to instructional design projects. So definitely draw upon your reading for this. Identify data collection necessary to address the problem. Now, this is important. Remember, our goal during this portion of your design project is to think about how you're going to evaluate the effectiveness of your program. So definitely you're going to want some data to compare at some point. So this is your opportunity to stop and think about, okay, what do I need at the beginning to compare to the end? Very similar to, if I take a sales job, maybe I want to know what the previous sales record was for a particular position so that when I've been there a year, I can show my growth by comparing my sales rate improvement over what was there before I came on board. Kind of that same idea, but again, with reference to your project or prototype. You want to identify the root causes of discrepancy or need for organizational innovation. Maybe you have a non-instructional intervention, which is something you'll be incorporating later on. So if you identify that here, you'll kind of be ahead of the game. But you can Google the non-instructional intervention. But maybe you have a training for sales reps and you want them to achieve a certain level of sales. But you find that not only is knowledge and training an issue, but also there's no motivation. So maybe you decide to incorporate an incentive program. And then allocating your resources to support the planning and management tools and effectively writing your work. Again, always make sure to review your rubric and make sure you have those 2 scholarly sources. So that's the wrong file. I'm going to pull up the evaluation template. And again, last week, remember, you completed the stakeholder view, problem statement, and project scope and goals. Now we're working on the logic model. So you'll be identifying your resources and inputs, your activities, your outputs, your outcomes, and the impact on the project. Now, I wanted to point out that next week you'll actually be creating a visual diagram to represent these various aspects. So I wanted to share with you an example of a template, and I'll share this as an attachment to this announcement. But this is an example of something that you might use. And you might want to start with actually developing your logic model visual first. You may find that as you work this particular logic model visual, it helps you more easily identify what you need to incorporate for those descriptions that you're working on this week. So if you choose to do both this week, you'll be ahead of the game for next week. It might also make the process a little bit easier for you. So there are different ways to interpret or approach this logic model. And I know some of the examples either really great, but logic model examples that you're going to see tend to focus on social programs. So the evaluation and the logic models look a little bit different. So I'll just kind of run through here and give you some examples. Let's say I'm working on a customer service training. Some resources that I might need or anything to launch the program. So this may be a facilitator, it may be a learning management system, also any data that I might need. My actions are going to be, and again, I'm going to give you another example of another way to approach this. The activities to launch this program may be the need to develop a training. I may need to create a job aid. I may need to create an incentive program. And then my outputs would be the direct results. So how many hours of training, do I want how many participants to engage in? Am I looking for, 3 hours of training for for sales reps? Am I looking for, whatever my scope is going to be? But this usually would indicate a size and scope working from this perspective. And then your outcomes, what changes are going to happen as a result of that? And then what's the larger impact? So I have community level, but this would be, in this example, organizational level. So that's one way to approach it. The other way that students sometimes look at it from this angle, and it might actually be a little bit more helpful with respect to planning your evaluation, is to look at it as far as what's going to happen for the learners going through the training. So again, your resources, anything that you need to launch it. Again, probably they're going to be fairly similar. The facilitator, the learning management system, maybe I want to identify the training itself as a resource, and then maybe you want to look at the activities as the activities that the participants are going to engage in. So maybe they're going to have an interactive lesson on customer service and reading the customer. Maybe we're going to have a video that the participants are going to watch, or a discussion forum. And then the outputs could be the elements that the participants are going to put out. So maybe you want them to create a resource bank or develop a personal plan for their own customer service approach, or develop their own goals. And again, then the outcomes would be what you hope the participants gain from this, and then the impact it's going to have on the organization. So I tend to like, for an educational purpose, the second example that I gave you, because you really get to take a close look at, what the participants are going to be doing, and it just gives you a more in-depth look so that you might be able to plan for evaluation. But it's totally up to you. I'm not going to be too very particular, as long as you can see the relationship amongst those different aspects. So I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, definitely let me know, and I hope you all have a great week.